This video will present a high-level overview of the semantic representational system. We're here at Exodus 1:11, and in this large window here you see the semantic representation of this one verse. And the semantic representations consists of propositions and phrases. Here's an independent proposition. You can see its boundary indicated with the double brackets. There are also dependent propositions. Their brackets are slightly smaller. If we rest our cursor here, the pop-up tells us that its type is patient, in other words, an object complement. This clause, this proposition is functioning as the patient of this verb to force. So there are independent propositions and dependent propositions. There are also individual words, conjunctions, and adpositions are at the clause level, the proposition level. There are also phrases. We have four types of phrases: noun phrases, verb phrases, adjective phrases, and adverb phrases. Here's a noun phrase, a verb phrase. The adjective phrases can be either attributive, for example here, this adjective new is modifying the noun city, so this adjective phrase is embedded in the noun phrase. Adjective phrases can also be used predicatively. For example here, the Egyptian masters were cruel. So here, this adjective phrase is being used predicatively, so it's at the proposition level rather than embedded in a noun phrase. This one, in fact, has a noun phrase embedded inside this adjective phrase. Sometimes nouns modify other nouns, and when they do, there's always an adposition indicating the relationship. For example here, master, nationality, Egyptian. So this Egyptian, this concept Egyptian, is only used for nationality. This doesn't refer to an Egyptian person. It's only for nationality. So whenever a noun modifies another noun, that noun phrase is embedded, and there's always an adposition indicating the relationship. We have roughly a dozen relationships. There's, like for example, kinship would be Mary's mother, body part would be Mary's hand, ownership would be Mary's book. We have roughly a dozen of those, and many noun-noun relationships can be described by one of those adpositions. But many noun-noun relationships don't fit into any of those categories. So in cases like that, we use what we call a generic genitive. Here, the name and the city. The city's name. That's not kinship or body part or anything like that. So we mark it with a generic genitive. And in a subsequent video, we'll describe how you can use these generic genitives to produce the right morphology in your target language. There are no pronouns in the semantic representations. We only have nouns. Now they can be marked for person, and the person values are first, second, third, first inclusive, first exclusive. But there are no pronouns in the semantic representations. There's not any punctuation either, other than there's a period at the end of each sentence, and there are quotation marks. But, for example, if your language needs question marks at the end of questions, you'll need to write a rule. If your language uses exclamation marks, you'll need to write a rule. There are no commas in the semantic representations. We only have the semantic representations consist of these concepts and these structures and these features. And it will be up to your grammar over here to supply all the necessary morphology, all the necessary punctuation, pronouns if your language uses pronouns, and so on.